What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Figuring Shit Out podcast, or the F.S.O pod. It's your girl, Leah, and today we're going to be talking about something that just don't sit right with my spirit. I honestly just really want to kind of just rant a little bit and talk my ish about it. So we going to do that. As usual, I'm just sharing my personal opinion and my perspective that nobody asked for and probably nobody cares about. But I don't care. I'm going to give it anyway. So with that being said, if you're a returning listener or you're hearing me for the first time, I want to start it off with saying thank you. I appreciate you for tuning in. So go ahead, grab your snacks, grab your loofah with your soap, put your feet up, whatever you do when you're listening to your podcast. Sit back and go ahead and listen to me talk my ish. All right, y'all. So today I just want to talk about something that just kind of weighing a little heavy on my spirit. And that is stop bullshitting people. I just want to get, just straight into it today. Don't really have any notes, kind of just raw dogging this particular episode. But yeah, stop bullshitting people, man. And by that, I mean, just be real, be real and take accountability. Those two things go hand in hand. For example, all right, honestly, okay, I'm gonna just share what I saw and have been seeing quite a bit over the past few days on TikTok. And that is essentially somebody talking about, there was essentially a breakup, and it's crazy because this happened a while ago, but a lot of things started resurfacing, and then people have been like giving their opinion, and you know how TikTok is. So it's been like kind of resurfacing again. But essentially, there was a breakup, and I don't know kind of the ins and outs, but I guess in some way, shape, or form, or somehow some information started getting leaked or something like that. And so one of the people involved decided to go ahead and speak out, and was, basically came online and said that, they gave, in my opinion, the typical spiel of, well, you knew what it was from the jump. I told you off top that I didn't want to be in a relationship. I told you I wasn't ready for that. I told you I was still healing. And you said that you wanted to stick around. You said that you were going to be here. You said that, you didn't care about all that, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know why you're acting brand new when I told you I didn't want to be with you or something. Basically that, right? Now, first things first, I want to start it off by saying I feel like that little speech it's BS, man. Like, we need to stop giving it, because a lot of the times, from my experience, both personally, like having actually lived through it, and just from what I've seen through, like, friends and family going through situations like this, a lot of the time that don't mean nothing, because the same people that are giving that speech are the same people that are the main ones to instigate, like a deeper connection, or are the main ones that are perpetuating I had to hear that in my head. They're the main ones that are perpetuating certain actions and certain behaviors that are causing the other party to believe that the situation may be something that it's not. And that is what I don't agree with. I feel like if you wholeheartedly know for a fact you don't want to be with someone, and I'm not talking about someone in particular. Like, if you know without a shadow of a doubt that you don't want to be in a relationship, you don't want to have that, connection or that bond with someone like that, you're not ready for it, you're healing, you're working through stuff, whatever the case may be, which everybody is entitled to that. I'm a firm believer. Not saying you got to be healed before you can, jump into stuff or love again. But I do feel like it's important to take time in between, take time to yourself, genuinely heal, especially from certain situations, before taking that big jump and leap of faith. But if you know that that's where you're at, then you shouldn't even be putting yourself in a position to where you're in a situation where those lines can get blurred, where you could possibly be in a scenario to where, oh snap, you look like a chicken with your head cut off, because now you're trying to figure out how did we even get here? Like, this is way more than, like, I never even wanted this. I didn't want a relationship. So why am I dealing with this? Why am I like, well, what's going on right now? Like, don't even put yourself in that kind of scenario. Avoid it. It's like, if like with drinking, for example, if you know that you're someone that just cannot handle their alcohol, or not even you can't handle it, but you just know that you're not the kind of person that can just go out and maybe have a couple and just coast it for the night and chill. Or if you know that you're someone that once you start drinking, you just like to just constantly drink and keep going, then don't even put yourself in a position to where you're going to have to try to fight that temptation if you either don't want to, or that it's going to be hard for you to do so. Just remove the catalyst, remove it. Don't even let it be an option for you. You know what I mean? And I think there's not enough accountability on both parts in those kinds of scenarios, but more specifically on the part of the people who give that little speech, because they will always fall back on the fact, well, I kept it 100 with you. I told you, I was real. I told you I didn't want this. And now you're tripping because whatever. Or you saw me with someone else. And now you was never mine, or we were never together like that. So yeah, but you can say that. But if you were still treating someone like they were your girl or like they were your man, you know what I mean? You're telling them, how much they mean to you and how important they are, and how, you can't imagine your life without them, and how you never felt this way before, and they're so different from everybody, and y'all calling each other all the little pet names, and y'all doing stuff for each other and spending all your time together, and maybe even doing a little hanky panky, and you know what I mean? You're having that kind of connection. You're essentially a couple without really being a couple. You're doing all the couple stuff. You know what I mean? Like, why are you surprised that someone has now veered over the line that you initially set, months ago, or from the beginning, however long ago that was? You drew that line, but you also were one of the main people involved in blurring that line. And now that other person involved really has on, rose tinted glasses, and they're really kind of confused with the situation, and they're feeling like, okay, well, obviously this is what it is, because they're treating me this way, or they're letting me treat them this way. They're letting me do things for them. They're letting me do that, because let's be real. If you don't want someone to fucking do something for you, you're not going to let them do it. How many of us are hard-headed? Like, hey, no, I got it. And if someone's like, hey, look, I'll help you, I said, no, I got it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of us are like that. So if you are in a situation where you have someone that is, wanting to treat you like a partner, a romantic partner, and that that's not what you want, or that's not something you're ready for, you won't allow them to do it. Now, if they still choose to do it, 9 times out of 10, from what I've seen, people will be adamant about that. And they'll be like, hey, look, I told you from the beginning, I didn't want this. That's not what my interest is. I said I just wanted to be friends. I would like to be friends. I do think you're really cool. I think we have a cool friendship. I think we have a cool bond. But it's not that way for me. And if that's not something that you feel like you can handle or maintain, or that's not something you want to maintain with me, I respect that. But then moving forward, we can't deal with each other in any kind of capacity, because I don't want to put myself in a situation to where I feel uncomfortable. I don't want you to be in a situation that makes you uncomfortable. And it doesn't have to be that way. That's not hard. You know what I mean? Like that's a simple conversation, or a text message, or a FaceTime, whatever it is, that can easily and simply be communicated. But a lot of the times it's not. A lot of the times, people who give that speech, they will lead you on, and they will be very intentional about the way that they handle things and the way that they do things and the things that they say. And then when the other person responds or reacts a certain way, especially in a way that the other person doesn't like, then it's like, they have that scapegoat. They have that fallback. Well, it's like, well, hey, I told you I didn't want a relationship. You're the one that stuck around. I said I didn't want to heal. And that's why I am a firm believer in learn how to heal by yourself. Learn how to heal alone. We are too comfortable in feeling like we need to get on somebody or get under somebody in order to heal from stuff. Like, no, be by yourself, man. Like, stop. No, I think one of the most dopest and hardest things a person can do is to heal themselves from heartbreak or trauma. Whatever that heartbreak or trauma may be. It could be the pain of losing a loved one. It could be the pain of losing a romantic partner, in whatever capacity, whether the relationship just didn't work. Maybe they unfortunately passed or something like that, whatever the case may be. I think that is one of the strongest things that you can do, because it is easy to constantly distract yourself with people. It is easy to constantly have someone else that you're talking to, have someone on the side, have someone that can scratch that little itch when it comes up for you. Have someone that can still give you that feeling and that can give you that familiar. Why can I not say that word? What the hell? Sorry. That will give you, I can't say it. My brain literally is like just not wanting to say this word. So I'll word it a different way. Someone that will give you the feeling that you're used to. And we like that, as people, we want that, but it's really hard to do that alone, and I'm saying that from experience. My genuine heartbreaks that really messed me up, I had to heal through those alone. I didn't have the distraction of, having someone that I was going out with and seeing on the side, or I didn't immediately just jump into another situation with somebody else. I wasn't worried about being with anybody else, because for me, at that time, it was oh my gosh, this is just what, my heart was broken. I didn't give a damn about nobody else. And that's just not even how I operate personally. I don't think of wanting to distract myself with other people in order to get over someone. And if I do think of wanting to distract myself with other people, it's in the sense of my friends or my family, spending time with my friends, spending time with my family, trying to do things, not saying that, I only do that, or I only did that because I was trying to get over stuff. But no, it's having those healthy coping mechanisms and having those healthy outlets, because, and again, I've said it before throughout this podcast, man, and I only ever speak for myself. I'm not speaking for the whole population. I'm not speaking for all women, for all Black women, for all lesbians. I'm not speaking for all 31-year-olds. I'm speaking for me. I'm speaking for Shalia. This is my opinion based off my experiences, and that's what it is. It's my perspective. So, it was really, really hard. It was hard, really hard. You know what I mean? Especially when I see, or when I would see, other friends and family that I would also see kind of go through these really hard breakups or these bad breakups. And the next thing I know, they're in another relationship, or they're talking and dealing with, 2 or 3 other people, which again, that's how they heal. That's how they cope. That's how they grieve. That's how they process, and I believe everyone has the right to do that in whatever way is necessary for them, in whatever way they need to do that. That's none of my business. But I just can't maneuver that way, and again, I think especially romantically, when you honestly take that time to wholeheartedly be alone. And again, I'm not talking about any kind of distractions, or you got someone that you may be, humping and sucking on the side, or you got someone that's scratching that little itch, or you got someone that's kind of giving you that attention, or someone that you can kind of give that attention to, that you can kind of distract yourself from the reality of the situation. When you wholeheartedly just have yourself, and you have to sit with yourself and you got to be honest and be like, what the fuck just happened? Okay, what the hell was that? And you got to regroup. You got to figure out, okay, this is the play-by-play. This happened. Okay, well, why do I feel the way I feel? Why am I hurt the way that I am? Okay, well, what was it that was said that made me hurt? What was it that was said that, pissed me off? Or what did I do? What part did I play? Where is my accountability in the situation? And when you just allow yourself to honestly do that alone, I think that is not, I don't want to say this in a way that, you know, is belittling to anyone that may deal with things or cope with things that way. But I feel like it is very, very, it's empowering. There we go. I'll use that word. It's very, very empowering, because then you really come to learn that you don't need anyone romantically. You know, you don't need to have someone to talk to in order to feel better about yourself. You know, and it's not even about loving yourself, because just because you heal from a situation alone doesn't necessarily mean that you're in a place to where you just have this, you know, positive self-image where you're just like, I love me, you know, like that takes time, you know, like you could feel good, but still be learning how to love yourself and still be learning how to, you know, feel better about yourself. That's not an overnight process, right? Sorry, excuse me, I had to burp. My bad. But yeah, man, I'm so tired of hearing that. And, you know, when I was watching that TikTok and I was watching that person say that, I was like, yo, like, respectfully, man, shut up. Like, you know how stupid you sound? Like, well, I told you that I was healing. I told you. Okay, well, if you told someone, hey, this is what the situation is for me. This is what I'm going through. This is what I'm dealing with. This is not what I want. Whatever. When you saw them crossing that line, you should have been a grown-ass adult and you should have put a stop to it just as much as they should have. Because, again, accountability, especially in these situations, work both fucking ways. Okay, they should have been like, okay, you know what? You already told me you don't want a relationship. You told me you're healing. You told me you're going through this and going through that. All right, cool. But just like we all know, people only do what you allow them to do. So if you tell someone you're not ready for a relationship, you don't want a relationship, but then yet you turn around and you allow them to do relationship shit for you. You allow them to treat you as if they're in a relationship with you, and you accept the gifts and you accept the attention and you accept the acceptance and the caring and the love and all of that comes with however they're treating you. You allow them to do that. You cannot then throw that back in their face and say, well, I told you what it was. Yeah, but you allowed me to do those things. You allowed me to essentially treat you like you were mine. And then when I do those things and then I see how you're reacting to it and I see that you're not pushing me away, that's going to make that, and that's just any person, you know, like if you tell someone you're not ready for a relationship, but you allow them to do the relationship shit, for them, that's probably going to be like, okay, well, hell, maybe they are ready for a relationship because, you know, like they're letting me do these things. They're letting me call them babe. You know, I slipped up. I didn't mean to call them babe, but I did. And they didn't say anything. They didn't correct me, you know, and like there was some times I did it on purpose, but there's also been a lot of times where I've just done it on accident and they haven't said anything. Hell, they even called me back. Like, they even said it to me back. You know, like they're letting me do these things. You're blurring the lines and you're helping to blur the lines. But then when things hit the fan or when things go bad, you want to try to take it all back and be like, well, disclaimer, because I told you I didn't want this. I told you I didn't want a relationship. No, you sound stupid, dude. You sound dumb. Like, so it's that simple. If you feel like you are not ready for a relationship, then stop putting yourself in situations to where you allow, that was weird way to word that, or weird way to word that. Goodness, what is going on with my words today? I'm super tired. I only got like maybe 2-3 hours of sleep, but damn. Anyway. Do not allow people to do something for you that you truly don't want and you truly feel like you're not ready for. Point blank, period. When it comes to romantic relationships in this kind of scenario. And I am speaking from experience because I've been in this situation. I've been the person that has received that speech, but I've also been on the giving side of that speech. And again, you know, that's why I say accountability on both parts is extremely important, because it takes two to tango. However, you cannot strictly just say, well, that was their fault because they decided to stick around because, you know, they like me and I told them I didn't want a relationship. Yeah, but we also, we're humans and we know how feelings affect things. We know how feelings, I don't want to use the word control, but for lack of a better word, we know how feelings can influence. There we go. We know how feelings influence our emotions and influence the way that we maneuver and the way that we act and the way that we treat people. We know that. So if someone really likes you, if someone's really rocking with you, man, and even though you may have told them 3 months ago that you weren't ready for a relationship, you didn't want a relationship, you know, you didn't feel like you were ready, that's not where your headspace was at, but then 3 months down the road, you know, you're telling them how much you care about them and how you can't imagine your life without them and how you want them, you know, to be around you all the time. You love spending time with them. You've never felt the way that you've ever felt with them before, you know, that they're so special to you and you can't imagine your life without them. You don't want to see them with anyone else, that you really, really like them and you really care for them. And you're saying all these things to them. But then another 2 weeks after that, 3 weeks after that, a month after that, you start getting bored or you start kind of just pulling away for whatever reason. And then they're still responding or they're still reacting the way that they're reacting based off of the way that you've been maneuvering too. And the things that you've been saying, the things that you've been doing. And then you want to throw it back in their face and be like, well, I told you I didn't want a relationship though. Then why did you allow us to act like we were in a relationship? People don't act like they're in a relationship by themselves. That's a lie. Yes, they can. There are crazy people out there. There are insane circumstances. But y'all, you know what I mean. Okay? Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But yeah, man, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I've been seeing that a lot the past couple of days, and I just saw it again, and I was like, man, I just kind of want to, I just want to rant a little bit about it. You know, I'm tired of hearing that, man. Stop. Just be honest, you know, and look, if you told someone, look, I don't want a relationship. This isn't, you know, I'm not looking for that, whatever. And they keep kind of crossing that line and not respecting those boundaries that you put into place, and you keep reinforcing those boundaries and they're just not getting it. Okay, that's different. Maybe you need to go talk to somebody, you know, that can maybe help you figure shit out, you know, like maybe you need to go talk to an officer or something, you know, or something. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's different. If you've repeatedly reinforced boundaries, then, you know, obviously that's a whole different situation. But if you haven't, if you're going with the flow and, you know, you say in the beginning, I don't want this, I'm not ready for that, you know, I'm just trying to have fun. But then you only have fun with that one person, or you're making that person feel like they're the only person you want to have fun with. You know, you're calling each other, you know, pet names. You're hitting them with the, oh, you're, you know, I've never felt the way that I feel with you. Like, you're so good to me. I really like you, whatever. You're so different. I can't imagine my life without you, whatever. I don't want to see you with anyone else. I can't picture you with anyone else. Like, that thought makes me mad. All this other crap. And then for whatever reason, things start to change again. Maybe they start, you know, crossing another boundary that you remember you have. And now you're like, this isn't what I want. And then, you know, the situation, lines get crossed and things come to a blow. And then you're going back and you're falling back on I told you from the beginning, I didn't want a relationship. Yeah, that was 6 months ago. And we've been acting like we've been in a relationship for the past 5.5 months. So, yeah. But anyway, y'all, you know, I hope this little rant made sense. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have recorded right now. I mentioned a little earlier, I am extremely exhausted. I only got about 2 hours of sleep. So I am really tired. I do hope that this made sense. I hope it was easy to kind of keep up with. I apologize if it wasn't, and if it was kind of everywhere. If you stuck it through and you listened all the way to the end, I appreciate you. It means a lot. So yeah, man. Again, thank y'all for listening to me talk my crap. You know, I appreciate it. It means a lot. So with that, man, you know, live love and love life. Be kind. Until next time, y'all.